Tonight, the names you need to know.
Hi, my name is Kiana Kingbird.
Hi, Etalk. I'm Alexis.
What's up? I'm Shanese.
The forces making bold moves.
Now it's time for us to take our stories back and authentically tell our perspectives.
And the conversations that need to happen.
I believe that where there is understanding, there is compassion, and racism dies in the face of compassion.
Etalk presents Impact and Influence, celebrating Indigenous Changemakers, begins right now. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We've got some great stories heading your way. And to get things started, I'm going to bring in our co-host for the evening, Etalk correspondent Michaella Shannon, who's joining us from CTV Regina. Michaella, so good to see you. How are you?
Hi, Tyrone. I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here for tonight's show. There are so many people we can't wait to introduce you all to.
Absolutely. But before we get into that, we want to acknowledge we are visitors on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. So, Michaella, this show is all about shining the spotlight on individuals who are moving the dial in their fields and beyond. And first up is Marika Sila.
Yes, she's an actress, stunt performer, and Indigenous rights activist, and her latest project is an important one.
I've been stuck asking myself, what's next? I've been trying to find solutions and ways that we can move forward in a good way.
You got to tell me a bit about this documentary that you're working on regarding residential schools.
I just felt like it is an important time for us to highlight and elevate Indigenous voices and ask the community members, the influencers, the leaders, and the elders what they think needs to happen in order for us to move forward in a good way.
What's next on Canada's RedPath to Reconciliation is the name of Marika's debut documentary. Committing to do a project like this, does it take a toll on you emotionally?
My dad is a 13-year Indian residential school survivor, so I am greatly affected by it every single day. That's really the goal for the documentary, is to help others who are non-Indigenous know what they can do to help move towards unity.
You are stronger than you think.
And when Marika is not making a mark as an activist, she's in the spotlight as a stunt performer. You have some amazing videos, amazing content.
I specialize in stunts and special skills for film and TV, including nunchucks, staff, sword handling, and fire spinning, but it all started with hoop dancing for me.
How much time and training goes into all that you do?
It was a matter of just doing it every single day and picking it up, whether it's for 10 minutes or whether it's for 2 hours. The trick is just to show up every single day.
Yes, this is Marika in action. Her IG is packed with impressive moves, which landed her a gig in the hit series Midnight Mass and a starring role in the horror flick Ditched.
It's outside.
You have so much going on, this growing resume. What's next for you, and how can we cheer you on?
That documentary will be released in the fall, and other than that, there's a couple other projects that will be coming out in the meantime. And I'm super excited about those, but I have to keep my mouth shut about them.
You just got to promise to come back and give us the tea once you can.
I would love to.
All right, now to Devery Jacobs. Etalk has been following her career since the very beginning, and her star only continues to rise.
Yes, she's entering the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's just the start.
For queer representation and Indigenous representation, and essentially in any marginalized community, there's been nothing but misrepresentation since the beginning of film and television. And so now it's time for us to take our stories back and authentically tell our perspectives.
That's Devery with me back in 2019, and even early in her career, you could see the passion she had for representation.
And true to form, she's since landed roles in some groundbreaking shows. One of them is in the upcoming Marvel series Echo, which features a deaf Native American superhero whose special talent is the ability to imitate any opponent's fighting style.
And you don't become a part of the MCU by accident. After being named a TIFF Rising Star in 2018, her breakout performance in Reservation Dogs opened even more eyes to her undeniable talent.
My mom? No one ever really told me what happened.
To be able to portray roles that I'm so passionate about and tell stories that that really do reflect my community is just such an honor.
Devery doesn't just talk the talk. She recently joined the Reservation Dogs writer's room for season 2 after earning a Gotham Award nod for season 1, and the show is made up of an almost exclusively Indigenous cast and crew.
It's easy to be bad, like demand. It's hard to be a warrior with dignity.
The dark comedy follows 4 Native American teenagers in rural Oklahoma, and it's an incredible platform for Indigenous representation. The cast represents real people, and the show allows the actors to portray real Indigenous identities. It comes across as humor for audiences, but that's really just how we communicate with one another. We aren't the serious, stoic warriors that you see in old Western movies.
And we've appreciated Devery's special spark right from the start. In 2013, we met up with her at TIFF to talk about her CSA-winning performance in Rhymes for Young Ghouls.
We need to figure out a way to get this money back. I'm literally a small town girl from this little res in Gunawaga. I'm just like a Mohawk girl. I'm just dealing with all the craziness.
A small town girl, I can definitely relate. There's one thing that I have always loved about Devery. She takes on roles that really do reflect our community, and she nails it. She's a perfect example that proves you can be from the res and you can make it. There are big, big things ahead for Devery, and the same can be said for our next guest, Kiana Kingbird.
Look, we're so excited and so grateful that you carved out some time in your busy schedule to be here, because we want to celebrate everything you've got going on right now, including Welcome Toronto, the Creators Program.
It's been a whirlwind for sure. So it's almost like an incubator for artists to be able to expand on their work and reach a bigger audience. I feel like I've had so many more opportunities coming in, like it's almost been like a wave that I'm trying to ride out, so it's really been a lot of fun.
Kiana is one of 3 finalists chosen for this year's OVO and Toronto Raptors program. Its goal, to spotlight emerging BIPOC artists and showcase basketball's cultural openness.
You know, I actually just watched my Raptors halftime performance about 2 weeks ago for the first time because it's still so surreal. You know, like I have a lot of community support back home. So I've really just kind of been like appreciating that and how that feels. Back home, things like this don't happen. And so for the youth to see someone from their own community, and I travel a lot to all the communities in New Brunswick, to be able to feel like I'm like, you know, a beacon of light for people who might still feel like they're in the dark is something that really sits well with my spirit. I want to bring basketball and like, you know, the passion that people have for it back home, because it's a sport that is accessible to people, like especially lower income. You know, all you need is a nice pair of shoes. So.
Yeah. In addition to your incredible talent and passion for dance, you also have 2 degrees, criminology, criminal justice.
I wanted to do things that I felt like could help my community, and I've always been an academic. I love school. At the moment, I'm really enjoying taking some time to pursue my creative sides.
And that creative side includes her incredible one-of-a-kind beadwork. But that's not all.
I know you just hit a massive anniversary, 5 years sober, which is a massive milestone. So we just want to say, like, we see you, we celebrate you. That's amazing.
Yes, thank you. And that's something too that I hope that the youth see this and they realize, you know, there's so much potential you can unlock when you take steps to really improve yourself in every way, right?
Totem Design House is a fashion and home decor brand that produces Northwest Coast apparel, jewelry, and art. And tonight we learn how the company is making strides to end the appropriation of First Nations art.
We have women's wear collection that's 100% eco-friendly, made locally. And we also carry a line of jewelry. I grew up in the native art world and I've seen every type of exploitation that's happened. It's largely non-Indigenous people who've profited from our art forms. So hiring everybody that we can that's Indigenous. So we're creating a local economy. We produce as much as we can in-house. And so we literally look at every aspect of our business and infuse our own Indigenous values into what we do.
Erin's partner Andy knows the effect of having his work exploited, having designed the most popular Every Child Matters logo a while back.
I wanted to do something to just kind of give back, and that design was kind of taken on by the official Every Child Matters for that year. And what we found was a lot of unscrupulous businesses were taking up this design and offering it for sale for pure profit. I don't make money off of the design, and if you're going to use this design, that you donate your profits to a non-profit Indigenous society, because that's where the healing's going to happen.
And when it comes to healing, art is the best medicine.
When I started doing artwork, I really wanted to kind of do a contemporary take on our art forms. So when I started doing artwork, I really wanted it to kind of reflect how we see the world through contemporary eyes. As Indigenous people, we resonate a lot with, say, the Star Wars kind of universe of dealing with the empire that comes and takes over our territories. So when I use these kind of pop cultural references, I use them to help tell the story about colonization and our experiences with imperialism.
From pop culture to landscapes, Andy's latest creation, Dancing Together, is a personal one.
It's really a picture of Erin and I dancing in Haida Gwaii because Erin and I are going to be going through a traditional marriage ceremony. I'll be bringing up a contingent of Kwakwaka'wakw chiefs up to Haida territory. In Haida culture, you have to marry your opposite moiety. You're either an eagle or a raven. Erin's an eagle and I'm a raven, and so we're a perfect match.
We now want to introduce you to Chenise, who's appeared last season on One Queen, Five Queers. She's dedicated to educating on such topics like allyship and Black and Indigenous solidarity, and she's using her platform to spark change.
My fat body has taught me to love myself.
I'd love to know about your 1Q, 5Q experience.
It was a whole new world. I'd never been on a TV set like that before. Sometimes we think of TV as this very white space, but to see all of these racialized people that were doing all of this work to make the show great was absolutely amazing. And I think what I brought to the show definitely was a different perspective as an Afro-Indigenous person, as a fat femme, what it means to live in this body in a queer society. I think every time I talk about the things that I've been through, I find another bit of strength in myself that I didn't necessarily know was there before.
Strong, bold, passionate, Chenise is a force. She's a writer, an educator, and her story is a powerful one. I'm imagining that this was a journey, a process to self-acceptance. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I actually was very thin in my high school years, and I had a lot of self-esteem issues. And it wasn't until I gained weight and I really had to learn to love myself in a society that oftentimes tells fat people, and especially fat femmes, that they aren't deserving of their humanity. It was about telling myself every day that I was beautiful, that I really found that love in myself in that journey.
Indigenous children are still being taken, with there being more of them in the foster care system than there ever was at the height of the residential school system.
Can you tell us about the work that you do with Ashkenazi Project?
I've been doing class talks, which have been absolutely amazing. I go in and I talk to these youth about Indigenous history and Black history and what it means to be on these lands. And these youth are just so ready to advocate and fight for equality and are just inspiring me. And then being an Afro-Indigenous person, I think, again, in a society where you're supposed to fit into one little box, really learning that I can be both Black and Native and exist in this body has really allowed me to find my identity and stand firm in that.
Part of representation, though, is presentation. We often express ourselves through our appearance. I wanted to ask you, if it's okay to ask you, about the symbols that you have tattooed on your body and what they mean to you.
Most of my tattoos really symbolize different parts of myself. So I have some tattoos on my arm that are really about self-love. This one's one of my favorite. It says, "This body is mine to cherish and love."
Susan Aglukark is an award-winning singer-songwriter who was honored with a humanitarian award at the 2022 JUNOs. And Alexis is a rising artist breaking into the industry. So what happens when we connect them for a little chat? Let's take a look.
We are all family. Oh, we're all the same.
I wanted to introduce you today to Alexis Lynn, who is an up-and-coming young Indigenous rising musician who has looked up to you for a very long time. You're a veteran in the music industry, so I want to give the floor to her to ask any advice that she may have from you.
As someone who is so involved in the arena of mental health, how important you think it is to be involved in the conversation around mental health?
I think we're living in times when it's very important that we have these conversations and we have them led by us. I am Inuk. I grew up in Akvayat. Our communities and our reserves are in a cycle and state of crisis. I think it's very important that we share that environment and the truth behind the causes and whys of those environments and why we advocate as artists and singer-songwriters on its and their behalf. Very, very important to do that.
You can always do what you want to, no matter what anybody tells you.
What advice would you give to someone who's trying to reconnect to their culture?
If you go to search out your connections, you have to also be prepared. Be prepared because we're all recovering, and it's going to take a long time to recover from those traumas. So it may not be what you think it is.
Alexis is very lucky to have other people like you that are Inuit to look up to, making sure that we're there for each other, to support each other.
There was a time in the early part of my career, there was such a gap between the life I came from and the life I landed in that short period of time. There weren't mentors. There were my parents who supported me, but it was pretty funny because when I signed a record deal, for example, I knew that I couldn't share that with them and them know what I'm talking about because they wouldn't know what a record deal is. They wouldn't know what a major label is. They didn't ever watch much music either, so they wouldn't know the role of a music video in an artist's career in those times. We were lucky that I had people who gave me space to write about it as a healing artist. My art has been my healer.
This past year, we lost a bright light when actress, comedian, and commentator Candy Palmater passed away in December. As a respected colleague on The Social, Candy offered insight and humor and a fresh take on important topics.
There was a really strong division in the Indigenous community on this question, not about who to vote for, but on the question of, do we vote or don't we vote?
Candy spoke her mind and dazzled with her colorful style, glam, bling, and accessories.
Glow earrings.
She was stylish, intelligent, and was respected as an unbelievable storyteller.
My whole life is about change and transformation.
Candy, you are missed more than you know.
Candy truly was a change maker in every sense of the word. I had the privilege to work with her at the Inspire Awards, and she has paved the way for many Indigenous women like myself in both the TV and media industry. I admired her for always staying true to who she was.
Her passing is certainly a profound loss and one I know is still felt deeply by our friends at The Social. Okay, we're going to continue now with JUNO winner Tom Wilson and director Shane Belcourt, who tell us about their documentary, Beautiful Scars, which is based on Tom's best-selling memoir.
I tricked myself into believing that I hunted down the truth, but the truth found me. I discovered that I was taken from my family and raised by my great aunt and uncle. But I didn't find that out until 8 years ago.
We always knew that Grandma Bunny was not Tom's mother.
And she said, there's secrets about you that I'll take to my grave.
For you, what was it about the story that made you want to dive deeper and have these very intimate conversations on camera?
In Tom's story, it's so personal, it's so individual, that I thought it's a great way, it's a great vehicle to talk about something larger, about sort of the 60s scoop and removing Indigenous children from their homes. The idea that somebody would still have this art and this voice in them that would come out over time and reveal itself to be the true person of who they are. That was, to me, you know, this is a great story to tell, and it's a great person to be telling it.
If Tom didn't have his guitar in his hand, he had a pen. It was like, man, this guy is such a force of nature. He's a great front man, great storyteller. What's there not to follow?
How therapeutic was it for you to be able to have these conversations in this particular forum and then to also have your birth mother, Janie, be involved?
Janie, who's been my cousin my entire life, who revealed herself as my mother. We have conversations that otherwise we may not have had. We have a shared story besides being around one another our entire lives without me knowing her true identity. When you don't have identity, it's a crippling factor in your life.
I saw a sense of them feeling relieved that they were able to speak their truth and to come closer together.
So true, so true.
And now today, how do you feel about your identity?
I feel pretty good. I got a dog hair coat and I'm sitting on a red couch. Come on.
I am so happy this story is being shared because it is the story and narrative that many Indigenous people live by. My dad, being a 60s scoop survivor, didn't know who his parents were for most of his life, meaning identity for me has always been a struggle. And I agree, it can be a crippling factor in one's life. Without identity, we cannot reclaim and restore our way of life, and I think that was the point.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight, and a special, special thank you to Michaella for coming to us from Regina.
Thanks so much for having me. If you want to read more about the individuals we profiled tonight, be sure to check out etalk.ca for more. Have a lovely evening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. One love.